Welcome back. Border officials are seeing massive numbers of illegal migrants at the southern border ahead of Title 42 ending next Wednesday. New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney introducing legislation to redirect new IRS funding from the Inflation Reduction Act to go directly to border security. Joining me right now is Center for Immigration Studies Senior National Security Fellow and author of Overrun. Todd Bensman is here. Todd, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much. And, you know, this idea that Claudia Tenney is pushing to push the money to the border from the IRS agents, Joe Biden wants 87,000 new IRS agents. That's going to mean 166,000 IRS agents versus 15,000 border agents. I mean, it's incredible what we're doing to the border agents, starving them for resources while the numbers only increase. 5 million people having crossed illegally on Joe Biden's watch. Your thoughts?
Well, remember, just a few years ago, former DHS Secretary Jay Johnson said that 1,000 a day was an unbearable crisis, apprehensions coming across. We're at about 7,000 a day now. And the intelligence community is saying that when they drop Title 42 on December 21st, assuming that happens, that we'll be looking at anywhere from 12,000 to 18,000 a day. That's just an absolute Category 5 hurricane we've never experienced before in the United States. And when that onslaught enters the country claiming asylum, almost all of them will be saying that they intend to claim asylum. The vast majority of them are not going to get asylum. They may not even bother following through, and so they'll just be in the country illegally, joining the population, maybe 4 million, 6 million a year, joining the population of illegal immigrants already. So you're going to need a new army to chase down and deport those with lawful removal orders on them. The current staffing levels of ICE ERO is, far below what is going to be necessary. And they're not even being ordered to deport now, as it is, even criminal aliens.
That's right. It's just extraordinary, the number of people wanting in. And I guess one issue is the fact that we don't have the support on the ground to handle all of this. Look, we are talking about 6.5 million people a year, if in fact it's 18,000 people a day. You're right. We've got 7,000 people coming across every day right now. And if you turn that to 18,000, that's 6.5 million on the year. So what kind of resources are in place to offer these folks? Give us a sense of what the benefits are when you are here illegally.
Well, first of all, when you reach the border, all you have to do under the current policy, asylum law, is say, I intend to claim asylum, and you're in. That then puts you inside the country, come and get me when you don't get your claim approved, or if you don't even file a claim. So you're in the country. And that means that eventually you can get work authorization or some kind of temporary protective status. There's a double-barrel shotgun aimed at the whole thing right now, where you have Congress, lame duck Congress, talking about amnesties and all of these new benefits. Believe me, when Title 42 goes away, they're watching that now. The entire world is watching every single word coming out of the lame duck Congress right now. They are smart people making rational decisions about laying their $10,000 smuggling money down to enter the country, knowing that they're going to get in with all these benefits. This is a policy issue. It's a policy issue. The administration, their stance is not to block, deter, and deport. Their official policy is to have safe, orderly, and humane incoming flow. So they are seeking volunteers throughout the federal government to help them with this conveyor belt of buses, airplanes, NGOs that are helping process the whole thing in.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to put it, actually, the conveyor belt, because I was talking about all of the services from a free cell phone to, food stamps, to health care, to education benefits. All of these things cost money. And if you're talking about 6.5 million people a year, providing all of those services to them, what is the impact on regular Americans? And that's a serious issue. California Congressman Ro Khanna joined me yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures. We were talking about the Twitter files, but then also discussed some of the things that most people agree on, like a wide open border is bad. Here's what Ro Khanna said.
Nation needs borders. Those borders should be secure. At the same time, we need some orderly process for immigration. We need to be able to recognize asylum claims. That's based on our fundamental values as a country, but we also need to have a process where people can come here without having to cross the border if they want to work here in an orderly process. And there are bills that do all of these things. The question is, can we actually come together to pass those bipartisan bills?
He also said that Joe Biden should visit the southern border, Todd, but the president has just been adamant about not going, even if he's just miles away in Arizona or Mexico.
Well, the president is deliberate in his decision not to visit the border. He recently was quoted saying, "That's not a serious issue to me. That's not a serious issue at all to the country." But the fact is that the numbers that are coming across are historic, beyond anything in the American experience, and is transformational. The numbers coming across are already being felt across the nation in your schools, healthcare system, crime, every sector of the American economy and our social fabric. So, whether the president wants to admit it or not, Americans are going to feel this in the pocketbook for a long, long time, probably permanently.
Well, they want to change the structure of the country. Maybe that's the point. Todd, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for weighing in on that very important issue. Todd Bensman joining us this morning.